Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Doctor. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. It's a little bit on the warmer side, but you know, we're going to get through it. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I can talk today. And we're going to go ahead, and the video today is a little bit more in-depth. For those of you that have used it, the War the Visions item calculator is an amazing tool that actually is able to tell us what the drop rates are, or the estimated drop rates are, for different chambers, different events, different missions in the game. And most recently, there's been a really big, I would say, controversy about the high difficulty training room and the drop rates that are associated with the new training chamber versus the old training chamber. And a lot of this is perceived as a nerf, and I would say, yeah, it's probably a nerf. But before I wanted to get in and kind of talk about being angry about it or anything like that, I think it's important that we get our fundamentals down. And so I had the opportunity to sit down in Discord with Brandon, who is the founder of the War the Visions item calculator, and ask him a series of questions just about drop rates in the game, just about how we know what we know, and how we know that the red orbs are actually nerfed. And so this video, I'm going to kind of talk verbatim what me and Brandon talked about. So it's going to be a little bit more of a dry, informative video. And just prepare yourself for that before we go ahead and jump in here. So the first question I wanted to ask Brandon was to explain for people who might not understand how the drop system actually works. And in reality, we actually have no idea without seeing the source code, because data miners and people who read the data mine don't actually have access to the source code or the server side of the game. So a lot of this is kind of hidden in the application code, and even I'm talking as Brandon right now, don't have visibility into it. When dealing with a multiplayer game like this, there are two main sources of logic: functionality, save data, etc. Server and client. The server is hosted by Gummy. It's a black box and is considered the quote-unquote source of truth on any decisions made in the game. The client is the program on your phone and any local files it may save to your device. The client attempts to save processing on the server by caching certain things or by guessing at what the server will validate, but ultimately the server makes the final decision. When I first made this farming calculator tool, again, talking as Brandon, it didn't have any drop chances. It only knew which quests drop which items, but not the rate that they dropped. It was assumed that all drop chances were stored on the server and wouldn't be visible to the client at all. When Shalzeth was finally able to do his magic with the encryption, we got access to most of the data files that exist in the client. It turns out that the client actually stores the drop data items and drop chances in the map set data files locally. I, Brandon, believe the server is still the authority on what actually drops and gets saved to your account, but the client-side map set data is a way for the client to limit the bandwidth and number of server requests it has to make when determining what appears in the game. I, Brandon, believe the client server probably share a randomly generated number, a seed, when a quest is started, and that is then used to derive what actually drops from chests and enemies. Assuming both the client and server use the same logic and seed, then they wouldn't need to verify each individual drop. This means instead of 10 to 20 server calls and data downloads, they can optimize it to 1 to 2 instead. Note that this is 100% assumption. We don't have access to the decompiled source code, just the decompiled data assets used by the code. That is an important distinction. I can only see data, not logic. So based on the data we have available, it is assumed the drop system works like this. Each quest has a map set. The map set has information on party positions, enemy drop tables, chest drop tables, win and lose conditions, and then the list of drop tables used in the map set. An enemy chest has a single drop table, but a drop table can be used by 0 or multiple enemies and chests. A drop table is specific to a quest's map set. This will be, as a side note, important later when we talk about drop percentage and differences in maps. It is never shared with other quests. Each drop table has a list of possible entries and usually one entry for no drop. Each of these entries contain the type of item it is, the number that can drop, and the weight of the drop, which is how likely that item is going to drop from the table. The farming calculator uses the weight to determine the drop chance percentage. It adds up the total weight for a drop table from each entry and then divides the total by each individual entry's weight to get the final percentage for that drop table. So we do have an example here on the next page. So the example is going to be a green memory, has a weight of 20. Sword citrite has a weight of 10, and no drop has a weight of 40. So the total weight is 70. So the green memory drop chance is 20 out of 70. The sword citrite drop chance is 10 out of 70. And the no drop chance is 40 out of 70. So that's why when you are looking at this information, when you are looking at something like the War of the Visions farm calculator, you're not going to see all of these add up to 100% all of the time, because every single sort of stage or map is going to have different weights associated with the drops. And so it's going to be kind of a, I would say, like construed data. And he's pretty much, Brandon, done all of the hard work for us. And so now that we kind of know how drops work, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened with the red or the hard training room. I call it red room, so I apologize. Before I jump into that, though, make sure you guys go to warthevisionsfarmcalculator.github.io. Brandon has done incredible work, and honestly, I can't think of anyone in War of the Visions that hasn't used his farm calculator. Please go there. Please buy him a coffee. Even if you can give him like $5, that's enough to support him and keep him going. So make sure to check it out, guys. And let's go ahead and continue this interview with Brandon. So the next question I asked was, when we saw this adjustment to the red orb room, or the training, difficulty room, what effectively did it do to the red job stone drops? What do you think needs to be changed or adjusted? And Brandon said, it appears that Gummy duplicated the training chambers into 3 separate maps and map sets, and then deleted 2/3 of the job memories from the drop tables without adjusting the remaining 1/3 from each map. So this means you have the same exact chance of getting the job memory you want versus previously, but less overall chances of getting a job memory at all. So essentially, what this has done is it's made it 3 times more NRG expensive to farm job memories. Because previously, if these had all been combined into one, you would have had the same percentage chance as you have now, except you only had to farm 1 map. Now you have the same percentage chance that you had before, but you have to farm 3 maps. So the next question that we of course want to ask, and you guys can probably already pick up on why a lot of people are really frustrated about this, is, was it intentional? And I asked him, do you think this change was intentional? And Brandon said, I would hope not, but it was probably intentional. After looking back at the official notice about the map division update, it was labeled as an improvement with revised reward content. They never said it was meant to increase your chance of getting an item, and that was most likely on purpose. The community, myself included, had the assumption that less items must mean a higher chance of getting the remaining items, but that's not technically what was communicated from Gummy. And there was a question that I asked, and I actually found my own answer since Brandon didn't have the answer. And that was, what happened in JP? Did JP get the exact same thing that we got? And the answer is actually, yes, they did. I talked to Lazarus, who you guys might know or might not know. He is a member in my Discord who does have and play quite regularly on the JP server. And he didn't have access to drop rate percentage information, but it does look like that JP had the exact same change to their system. And from my understanding, a lot of people in the JP community were also upset about it. And just to show you guys, I have two pictures down here on the bottom that do show the different job stones and the different training chambers of the yellow chamber, just as an example of showing you guys that yes, they did in fact get the same change that we got. So different event, different drop percentage, right? We talk a lot about how, like, maybe it seems like armor books drop more from a single event rather than another event. And so if there could potentially be, I asked him, do you think this affects people's perception that sometimes armor books drop at a higher rate than other armor book farming events? And to this, Brandon said, there was some chatter in the community a while back around when the Platinum Rod was first released, and some people believed that they had nerfed the drop rates to remove the double drop rate from the MP version of the quest. But the Platinum Rod quest was based on the precedence of the Cat's Claw quest, and both quests had similar drop rates to each other. The double drop rate on MP appears to be used only for a subset of events. So it seems like that maybe in the beginning of the game, if I'm understanding this correctly, they adjusted it as they moved on. But since we had those sort of events earlier on, and because it was tied to the Cat's Claw event, the drop rates were different than what we're seeing now. And so the final question, what do I think about it and what can we do? Genuinely, I think this probably wasn't intentional. I think probably they had intended to triple the drop rate on all of the job stones in order to balance this out for the 3 rooms. I think potentially it's a mistake and that the devs will hopefully adjust it here in the near future. If they don't, the question is, what can you do? And instead of getting angry on Reddit, I know Justin already has been made aware of the issue. I've talked to him myself about it. Some things you can do would be rate the app on Google Play. Personally, I think the best option, having worked in a corporate environment before, is to send a ticket to Gummy and just kind of say like, hey, I think there's an error with the drop rates on this. If enough of us send tickets, usually what happens is those issues that are being constantly brought up are usually brought to upper management, and that's usually the fastest way to resolve issues, is to send a bunch of help tickets about it. Not to complain on Reddit, not to, harass Justin in messages, but to actually create a help ticket and send it in and say, hey, I think there's a bug here that needs to be addressed. All right, guys. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions down in the YouTube comments down below. Of course, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I know that this is a little bit drier than normal, but I hope you guys were able to make it through and actually enjoyed this type of a conversation. This is actually the type of stuff I personally love to do. You guys can always come join us at our Discord, dig.gs/discord. And if you are buying Visior, make sure you use my Amazon coin affiliate link, dig.gs/coins, or dig.gs/offer if you want to get that special offer on Amazon coins right now. I can talk. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great rest of your day.